One moment, they were there, the next gone. A 19-year-old on a midnight walk, a young woman drifting barefoot in the rain, and a boy whose 8-block journey simply never ended. Tonight, we're going deep into 3 missing persons cases that have haunted families, baffled investigators, and left behind only silence and questions. Case 1. Brandon Swanson. Oh, shit. And then silence. It's past midnight on the flat, open prairie of western Minnesota. A single set of headlights cuts across gravel and field approaches. Roads that turn into roads that turn into miles of nothing. A college kid is driving home after saying goodbye to friends. His name is Brandon Swanson. He's 19, and he's sober enough to drive, steady enough to call for help when his car slides off into a shallow ditch. He thinks he's near the little town he knows. He thinks he can see the town lights. He thinks his parents will be there in a few minutes. What he thinks and where he actually is will become a chasm. Shortly before 2 a.m., Brandon phones his parents. Calm, a little embarrassed, he says he's gone off the road, no crash, just stuck, and could they come get him? He tells them he's right by Lynn, a town he knows well. His dad says sure, grabs the keys and heads out with Brandon's mom, keeping him on the phone to pinpoint the spot. They do exactly what any of us would do. They drive to the place he describes, roll slowly down the shoulder, flash their headlights, tell him, "We're on the main road. Do you see us?" Brandon peers into the dark and says, "No. Do you see me?" They don't. He doesn't. He insists he's by Lynn. They insist they're in Lynn. Both are right according to their own maps. Both are wrong in reality. For 40 minutes, they play a long-distance version of Marco Polo. Brandon says he'll make it easier. He'll just walk toward the lights he can see. Meet him at the parking lot by the town bar or the main road. He'll be there soon. His parents creep along the streets and shoulders, calling, flashing, honking. Nothing. He keeps talking as he walks. Across what he says are fences and fields, pointing out the crunch under his shoes, the sound of water somewhere out there in the dark. The night is still enough that you can hear your own breath in your scarf. Crickets, maybe frogs, maybe the low thread of a river you can't quite place. The call stretches past 40 minutes. He never sounds panicked. He never says he's hurt, just a little frustrated. He keeps describing what he sees. They keep not finding him. At one point, his father stops the car, steps out, and listens to the silence as if the darkness itself will speak. And then, mid-sentence, Brandon says, "Oh, shit." Not a scream, not a long cry. Just those 2 words. The line doesn't drop. It stays connected. Only the talking stops. His parents call his name over and over. "Brandon, Brandon." They listen for wind, for water, for footsteps. There's nothing. For several hours, the phone continues to accept calls, to ring and ring and ring. No voicemail, no pickup, just a digital heartbeat saying the device still exists, somewhere out there. At dawn, deputies traced the last cell ping and realized Brandon wasn't near Lynn at all. He'd misread the lights. He was miles away in farm and river country. Search teams spread along gravel roads, section lines, drainage ditches, and the bends of the Yellow Medicine River. Dogs appear to trail him to the river's edge, then across a shallow ford to the other side, suggesting he may have waited. For days, boats and divers work the channels. Fields are walked shoulder to shoulder. Harvests come and go. No traces ever found. No keys, no glasses, no belt, no sneakers, no phone, no Brandon. While doing a bit of research myself, I did notice a few things. Let's say he was headed home from Canby on 68, because he was supposedly at another party that night. Maybe his parents misheard, especially since it was late. He could have been trying to say Lion instead, since that's the name of the road his car was found on. And there is a sign right at that intersection of the roads, Lyon-Lincoln County Road and 68. I also placed a couple of markers on the map of other potential spots where he could have slipped and fallen into a creek. Looking at nearby locations and the way the terrain is in that general area, he could have easily tried to take a shortcut through one of these fields, not knowing the hidden death traps up ahead. A few haunting details about that night. The calm tone on the call. People in distress often betray it in their voice. His sounded focused. The two final words. Was it a misstep on a bank, a stumble into a culvert, a slip on loose gravel, or the startle of seeing someone or something he didn't expect? The ringing phone. It suggests power and tower coverage for hours after the moment he went quiet. Phones sink and die. Coverage shifts. The line between useful and meaningless data is razor thin. A bunch of theories have been looked into, but none have brought Brandon's family closure. One theory is that he waded the river, slipped, and was swept into deeper water or snagged in debris. The prairie is a maze of creeks, culverts, and sloughs. Spring water can be deceptively cold and quick. Counterpoint, years of searching, including dry spells and farming work, never turned up a trace. Two, he tripped into a washout or drainage, struck his head, and succumbed to hypothermia. Counterpoint, even remains hidden at first often surface via weather or animals. The total absence of artifacts is odd. 3, in the dark, on a section line, a passing vehicle could have struck him. The driver panicked, removed him, or he accepted help from the wrong person. Counterpoint, the area is sparsely traveled at that hour. There are no known witnesses, no debris. The infamous "oh shit" may be a misheard exclamation tied to something minor. Stepping in water, losing footing, but the line staying open implies sudden incapacitation moments later. Recent developments remind us that despite exhaustive searches covering over 122 square miles, including rivers, fields, and farm plots, no trace of Brandon has ever surfaced. Intriguingly, cadaver dogs retrace Brandon's path into the Yellow Medicine River, but evidence never emerged. His family continues to honor him, and thanks to their advocacy, Brandon's law transformed policy, requiring police to treat even adult disappearances with urgency, something that might have saved critical time in his case. What do you think "oh shitty" meant? A slip? A sighting? A shock of cold water up to the waist? If he crossed the river once, could he have done it again? And then become disoriented on the far bank? Or was it the hidden mud creeks that you can hardly make out in broad daylight, let alone at 2 a.m.? Does the ringing phone convince you he stayed above water for hours? Or is that just a red herring of network behavior? If you live there, which stretches of river, culvert, or shelter belt would you search again with today's tech? Sometimes the prairie keeps its secrets in plain sight, flat, ordinary, endless. A boy walked toward the lights, and the darkness simply didn't give him back. Case 2, Emma Fillipoff, barefoot at the Empress, downtown Victoria, British Columbia. November rain slicks the streets in a way that makes every neon sign reflect like a memory. A young woman stands outside the Fairmont Empress Hotel, arms folded in herself, bare ankles showing. She is beautiful in the way people are when they're living on edges. Delicate, intense, a little translucent. Her name is Emma Fillipoff, 26, a poet, a photographer, a drifter in her own city. Officers speak to her. She seems anxious but coherent, and she tells them she's fine. Hours later, she is gone. In the weeks before that night, Emma's life takes on a liquid quality. She bounces between a women's shelter and short stays elsewhere. She spends time at the Inner Harbor, sketching, journaling, borrowing library books about how to disappear and how to survive outdoors. She calls her mother with a flicker of fear in her voice, then suddenly soothes it, saying she's all right. She buys a prepaid cell phone and a prepaid credit card, gestures that look like planning. She gives away belongings, then retrieves them. She moves her van from place to place and leaves it tidy, as if staging a room. On November 28, 2012, staff at a convenience store notice she seems distraught and call police. When officers find her later outside the Empress, Emma speaks softly, says she doesn't want help, insists she's okay. The encounter ends without detaining her. The rain continues. A few witnesses recall a woman walking barefoot or wearing thin shoes, moving quickly along Government Street, then turning into side streets as if trying to shake the feeling of being followed, or the feeling of having to follow something inside herself. A man later claims an odd interaction. A woman asked if she could come home with him. When he refused, she looked spooked and hurried away. None of these reports stitch into a single verified path. Then she simply isn't anywhere. When Emma's mother arrives after a long drive, she can't find her daughter. The new phone is never activated. The prepaid card is never used. Time passes. Posters go up. Emma's face looking out from coffee shop windows and ferry terminals like an unanswered question. Details that make this case so interesting. The preparation versus fragility. Buying tools to survive, then walking barefoot into a wet, cold night. The interaction with police. Calm enough to be left alone, distressed enough to draw concern. The van, organized, not abandoned in flight. The man with the poster incident, reported later. Someone allegedly tells Emma's mother he saw a man walking with Emma the night she vanished, then backs off the story when challenged. A few theories to think about. Voluntary disappearance into a new life. Emma was a free spirit with a deliberate streak, prepaid tools, books about vanishing. Maybe she stepped off the grid on purpose. Counterpoint, no phone use, no money trail, no verified sighting in the decades since. Rare for a fully voluntary restart. Unplanned disappearance via mental health crisis. A dissociative or psychotic break could explain the barefoot walking, the oscillation between wanting help and refusing it. She might have sought shelter in an unguarded place, a boat, a construction site, an underground space, and succumbed to exposure. Counterpoint, extensive searching and the density of a city usually produce something. Foul play after initial crisis. Vulnerability plus visibility creates risk. Someone could have offered help, a ride, a place to warm up, and Emma could have vanished behind a locked door or into a vehicle headed out of town. Counterpoint, no CCTV confirmation, no vehicle description. Silent since. Self-rescue gone wrong. Emma was outdoors literate. She might have deliberately hidden in nature, crossed to Dallas Road or Beacon Hill Park, or slipped to the shoreline after midnight and fell or was swept in. Counterpoint, tides give up secrets, not always, but often. In a remarkable development, the investigation pivoted in late 2024 to the enigmatic man in the green shirt, a person spotted holding Emma's poster in Vancouver and claiming to be her boyfriend. A composite of this person has been released to the public, and New Hope tags along with an upcoming 6-hour documentary, Barefoot in the Night, set to explore her disappearance in depth. If you recognize him, authorities urge you to come forward. If you were the officers that night, would you have made a different call? Should adults in visible distress be detained for safety more often? Or does that create its own harms? Do the prepaid phone and card read to you as planning to flee, or just a safety net? What do you make of the barefoot detail, symbolic of a break or simply practical? Wet shoes, sore feet. If she sought shelter in a non-obvious place downtown, what location do you suspect? Parking structure, service tunnel, boat, vacant building? Victoria is an island city that feels like a village. People know faces. Emma's face is the one folks still see out of the corner of their eye, turning down a lane, already gone when they look again. Case 3, Jason Jolkowski, 8 blocks that never ended. It's a Wednesday in Omaha, Nebraska, June 2001. Trash trucks hammer the air with metal clatter. A 19-year-old named Jason Jolkowski gets a call from work. Can he come in early for a shift? His car's in the shop, so a coworker offers a ride if Jason can meet him at the nearby high school. It's an easy walk. 8 blocks, a straight shot through a neighborhood he's lived in for years. Jason throws on clothes, grabs his phone, and vanishes between his front porch and the school parking lot. Neighbors remember seeing him. One specifically remembers Jason helping pull in trash cans. That kind of neighborly reflex that tells you who a person is. He's not rushing, not running late enough to sprint. No backpack, no goodbye note. Just a quick walk for a ride to work and a paycheck. His coworker waits at the school. Time passes. Jason never arrives. Calls go unanswered. By afternoon, the family realizes this isn't late, it's wrong. Police are alerted. The 8 blocks expand into a city. Omaha is not a maze of blind alleys. It's a grid with sight lines and lawns and witnesses. If someone is grabbed off a sidewalk at 8 a.m., there are sounds and sightings. If someone decides to run, there are records. Yet Jason leaves no ripple. He is not caught on a camera. Few home cams existed then. His bank stays quiet. His socials say nothing. He doesn't return to his car at the shop. He doesn't come back for dinner. His family starts Project Jason, an advocacy group that will go on to help other families. Because sometimes the only way to survive your own unanswered question is to help ask and answer other people's. Theories that don't fit the sidewalk, voluntary walkaway. People do choose to leave, but Jason had no known conflicts, no preparations, no withdrawals, no pattern. He's on his way to work, a commitment-oriented behavior. Counterpoint to the counterpoint, some departures are impulsive. Yet where is the first footprint of that new path? Accidental injury with delayed discovery. Conceivably, he could have been struck and removed by a panicked driver, or he collapsed from a medical event and was transported by someone who never came forward. Counterpoint. Mid-morning in a residential area is a hard time to hide a crime scene. Acquaintance abduction. Someone who knew Jason could have intercepted him with a plausible reason to get in a vehicle. He's helpful, he's trusting. If that person didn't want him found, the timeline and neighborhood familiarity matter. Counterpoint, acquaintances are investigated, secrets leak. Decades later, silence is its own result. Predatory stranger in a familiar car. A stranger in a vehicle that looks legitimate, work truck, delivery van, city marked, could ask for help moving something, carrying something, just for a second. The littlest ask is a classic lure. Counterpoint, again, day, neighbors, dogs, doorbell views. Even in 2001, some noise usually exists. The eerie arithmetic of 8 blocks. 8 blocks contain a dozen driveways, 3 barking dogs, 2 retired people peering from windows, 1 jogger, a school custodian rolling out cones. Add the improbability of 0 physical evidence, and the sum is a magic trick. A human subtracted in full daylight. Even more than 20 years later, Jason's case remains active. The Omaha Police Department continues to receive tips, and authorities have released an age-progressed image to reflect how he may appear today in his mid-30s. His disappearance inspired Jason's Law, creating Nebraska's missing persons database, and his parents' advocacy lives on through Project Jason. What is the most plausible place on a short suburban walk for someone to be diverted without screaming or running? A car door, a house porch, a work truck? If you were mapping private cameras and business routes from 2001, which angles would you check first now? Do you lean toward known person or total stranger, and why? What's your theory on why nothing leaked? If foul play, does the profile of the offender suggest someone who moved away, someone deceased, or someone still hiding in plain sight? The sidewalk still runs from his house to the school. The concrete holds heat in summer and frost in winter, and nothing of a boy who walked there one morning and simply never finished the 8 blocks.